Hi, I'm Mary Thengvall, Community Builder at Chef. I'm here at ChefConf 2015, and I'm here with Jamie Winsor, Network Engineer for Undead Labs. Thanks for talking to me this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Cool. How's ChefConf been for you? Has it been better than years past, or what sets it apart this year?
It's definitely bigger than years past.
It's true.
I think it's better. I mean, it's been better every single year, pretty much. It's grown from a very small venue to a little bit bigger venue, and now there's a convention center floor here.
It's kind of surreal, right?
Yeah, and you know, as things grow, sometimes you feel like maybe the interactions you have with people become less meaningful, or you know, like there's more people, so there's more people you need to meet. But actually, I think the community's only getting stronger with the growth, and that was very surprising, and I'm so happy about that.
Cool. I think that's one of the special things about the chef community is that like we're huge, right? But it still somehow feels like that reunion. It still feels like, you know, it's a small group of people getting together. And that's one of the things that I've always loved about the chef community is how welcoming they are, and how it just, you know that you're in good company when you're around these people.
Yeah, I've been using Chef now since the 08 release, maybe 6 years ago or something like that. And the community has always been pretty strong. And you know, you could be worried and say like, all these people are coming in, they're going to ruin our community. Actually, they come in and they're like, this is a great community, and then they just really help build it. And
Absolutely.
That is so great.
Well, and that's one of the cool things that I've seen in the past 6 or 8 months as well, is just seeing how many companies are coming in and going, oh, well, we want to be a part of that. So we're going to open source these things, and we're going to contribute in this way. And having companies like Microsoft come in and say that, and GE stand on stage and talk about what they're doing with open source. It's pretty incredible.
It's, if anything, validating. It says that you did a good job the first time through, and then people are coming in that are later adopters, and they're on board, and they're saying, you did a good job with that community. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. That's great.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. So a few of the themes that have been coming up over the last few days in keynotes and in talks have been revolving around where DevOps has come over the last 5 years. You know, that we've officially had this title for this thing and the cultural movement that's been happening. We had people talking yesterday about predictions and what predictions were wrong and which ones were right and things like that. Is there anything that you expected about DevOps, or places you expected it to go that either has or hasn't, or things that have surprised you?
Well, I had a prediction early on that we'd stop hiring people for DevOps positions because it's not a real thing. It's a pattern that we're talking about. And over the last number of years, it's been getting better. Like I still get recruiter emails almost daily that are asking me for a DevOps position, and then I respond to them with a nice email. It's like, no, thank you. And then if they say back like, do you have any friends that are hiring? I explain, well, I wouldn't recommend anyone for this position because you're hiring for a thing that it does not exist. That position that you're asking for is basically a cleanup role that somebody's going to do for the rest of your organization. And I think that's starting to fade away. I'm getting less and less emails like that, and I'm reaching out to people that think less and less that they can hire somebody to solve that problem. And more people are hiring people that are instead going to be evangelists within their organization to promote DevOps and promote that culture and make it a real melding between development and operations.
Definitely.
So I'm not surprised by it. I wish it was happening faster, but
it's a process.
It's a process. It's hard.
Well, that's one of the things Adam was talking about this morning, was just the idea of, you know, taking a step back and going, okay, like when we started talking about this term DevOps, you know, it was, well, it's this cultural movement. It's not a job title, and it's not a, you know, one person in the community or one person in the company, excuse me, that's doing all of these things. It's across the company as a whole. And I think it's been interesting to see, you know, more of these companies are starting to get that idea of like, okay, it's not just Dev and Ops. Like, sure, that's where this started and that's where the word came from. But the idea of, no, like it's a cultural movement, but it's across the entire company and not just segmented into this one little group over here in the corner. And so it's been interesting to watch that happen. Is that something that you've seen? Are there more companies that seem to be adopting it across the board?
Yeah, I absolutely do see that now. Like I said, people are slowly moving towards that way. All it takes is you to get burnt once, and then you realize, I think I did it wrong, and then you ask some people around, and then you realize, oh, we really looked at this the wrong way. I like to think of it like somebody made a comment earlier to me explaining how you play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
You know, it's a role-playing game, and you don't bring 8 wizards into the dungeon, and making a DevOps team is like making 8 wizards. Like you're not accomplishing the thing that you really set out to do. You wanted to come together as a team and then solve problems, and you need a balanced team. You cannot just have 8 wizards.
Right. I do not think it means what you think it means.
No, it doesn't. You're saying that word, but I don't know if you know what that word means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. One of the other cool things that a lot of people have been talking about lately is just all of the data behind DevOps, and how we've got all this science to back it up, and it's no longer this touchy-feely thing that's kind of squishy and no one really knows how to define it. No, we've got data that backs up that you can do things faster and you can do things differently, and people are actually happier and more fulfilled when we do things in this way. I know that's something that Nicole was touching on this morning at keynotes as well. But just that idea of there's actual evidence that this is a real thing. And I know you've been involved in Chef from the beginning, and creator of Bookshelf and all of those things. But is that something that you've kind of noticed, that shift from okay, no, this is, it's this concept that kind of no one really knows how to define, but now it's a real, actual thing, and we have proof. Yeah.
I think that it's very clear that it was nebulous at first, because people would, for instance, hire positions for that. That it means that they've heard of it, they know that there's some value in this concept, but they don't quite know how to harness that position or that value yet. We have data. There's books written like Continuous Delivery by Jez Humble, who now works at Chef, that explain how, if you deliver faster and if you deliver your software in incremental bits, that you can watch the thing grow, right?
Definitely.
And DevOps is just part of that. It's just another tool that you use in your culture to accomplish that. And it's all, so we make video games, it's all about delivering player value. How fast can I do it, and how can I measure if it was valuable or not? And DevOps is a thing that allows us to own our live service and push changes out and say, oh, that worked or that didn't work, and then push changes out again as fast as we can. And by owning that live service and not having to go through an internal service organization like an operations department, we can tell almost immediately if something was successful or a failure, and then do it again and do it again.
Iterate on it and change, and that's
the only
fantastic.
downside is that I'm on call at night, and I'm a developer.
That's true.
But I'm cool with it, because it's my game. I want it to succeed. It's your game,
so you want to be involved. Right, definitely. So you gave a talk yesterday, and we had a conversation last night just a little bit about how you typically give technical talks, and this is what we did and this is how we did it. And your talk that you gave yesterday was more around the why. What drove you to do that?
I thought that was what was most important to talk about now. The first couple years that I gave talks, they were very technical, and they were about how you can do a thing. But anyone can go look at those talks online, and actually the feedback that I get now most recently is, thank you very much for the thing, we're doing it and it's successful in this way, or it's not successful in this way, and then I can make changes. But it sounds like people know the how now. They really are getting how to do things the way that I think it's the right way, but they're successful in any way that they're doing a thing too. And now it's more, people are looking to try to figure out how to bolster their team, how to grow, or they've had mishaps of creating the team, and what was the problem and how we couldn't get people to fill those roles, or we were getting the wrong people to fill those roles. Over the last, the talk that I just gave yesterday was covering the last 2 years of my life, and it's the most successful 2 years that I've ever had. And I would love that everyone feels that way, but as your career goes, you really hope the last 2 years is the best 2 years, and this honestly was. And it wasn't all about engineering. I actually found that most of the success that I've had was in interviewing candidates and filtering people out properly, and getting the right people in the job, and then evangelizing technology to them and working with them and helping grow those people. I invested more in people this time around than I did in the software that I was building, and because of that, the software was way better than I could have ever made it myself. And
fantastic.
5 years ago, I would have told you that that's not a real thing. That no, I need to be the one that writes all the code.
Right.
And it's just not how it works.
Well, that's interesting because that makes me think about a lot of the topics around burnout and hero to zero and those types of things that have been going around a lot lately. And that realization of or the belief, the false belief of I have to be the one to do this and I have to manage this because I'm responsible for this thing and no one else can do it. And being able to take that step back and say no, like if I have a strong team around me, then we can do this together and everyone's lives are better and everyone is more balanced and everyone has more of a chance to both contribute and have some ownership of this thing, but also to be able to take a step back and do what they need to do for themselves. And I think that's huge.
That's why I think it starts at hiring. I really think it starts at hiring because if I had something that was so important that I was controlling and I was tasked with it, like you must have success in this area.
Right.
And if I hired people that I couldn't trust, then I would never want to delegate that task out.
Right.
And I really would feel like I had to do it.
Absolutely. It was interesting. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and they're in the process of hiring some new developers and operations people, and the CTO finished an interview and took a step back, and then they ended up hiring that person. And he told my friend, he was like, I'm now confident I am not the best developer in this team, and I've never been happier about that fact. Like, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want. And like you said, it's that issue of trust. Can I trust the people around me to be adults, to do their jobs, to do them well, and to work with me if there's any issues?
Yep.
Which is fantastic.
Yep. When you hire somebody that's better than you, some people could take it as like their job's in jeopardy.
Right.
It's not.
No.
If your company wanted to let you go, they would let you go for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, which are because somebody that you hired and invested in somehow became better than you.
Right.
Actually sounds like you did a good job.
Right.
Like that you'd want to keep doing that.
You're hiring the right people.
Yeah, you're investing in the right people.
Exactly.
And you're helping to build those people in the right way. Yeah.
Right.
But I thought this talk was important to give this year because people are currently I think that people are currently struggling with how do we stop hiring a DevOps team and how do we start growing our company in the right way.
Right.
And that's why I thought that was the most important talk that I could give.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm glad it went well, and I've heard a lot of great feedback, so looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the show.
For sure, I will.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.